Hi everybody, it's Deborah and it's
Norma,
yeah,
we're
I
here
make
again.
you laugh every time. Oh my
I
God.
know, we'll do it.
Uh,
Oh, Lordy.
yeah, it's lovely. Thank you for joining us. It's the Sphere of Being podcast, where we really try and care for those who care for others. Could be that, you're working shifts and you've got a busy job and things are, you're caring for team members. It could be that, say, you're caring for somebody at home, might be an elderly relative, could be your nearest and dearest, might be a child. Always important to keep a little bit back for us. And so what we always try and do is, from the benefit of our own experience, because we're talking about stuff that we do, which we found useful, give a little bit of what works for us, and hopefully it'll help and resonate with some people out in the audience. So yeah, and today we thought we'd talk about the importance of sleep, because people work in shifts. Everybody's told the gears up for everything, like when it's dark and you're going to bed in the dark, or is that, and sometimes you have to go to bed in the broad daylight, and there are the noises of the day and all of that kind of stuff that you've got to contend with. So sleep for me, I've spent, because of what I've been through, spent the vast majority of my life sleep deprived. I wasn't safe enough. I didn't feel safe enough to sleep properly. I didn't know that, but that was the case. I was always vigilant. I was always very, very, very light sleeper. I still am, but one little thing and it wake me up, or I just wake up, thinking, oh, something's going to happen. And takes its toll after a while. It really does. So Norma, I know that you've got probably first-hand experience being a previous care home manager of working shifts and things as well. So I'd love to hear your take on getting a good sleep and having to do that at all times in the day.
Sleep. I love sleep, but I don't get enough of it. I don't really know how much sleep we need, to be honest. Some people need more than others, don't they? I had 3 children as single parent eventually, and obviously they're up at all hours. I worked 17 years on night shifts as a nurse. So when I got home in the morning, I couldn't get ready and go straight to bed and get to sleep. I had 3 kids to get to school, and then I'd go and get them at lunchtime to make sure they had something to eat properly. And I wanted to spend all my time with them because, that's the kind of mum I was, and still am actually, even though my eldest is 40 this year, I'm still exactly the same. I still have them anytime. And so when you don't get enough sleep, it has such a mad effect on your body. It doesn't, not even just your mind, but your actual physical body. If you don't get enough sleep, it can add to weight gain, to stress, to heart attack, stroke. All sorts of things can be caused by not sleeping enough. My pattern was really bizarre. I think I'll use that word, bizarre, because I like that word. So even now, some nights I'll just be like just about nodding off, and something will come to my mind and think, oh, I can do that now, and I'll get up again. And 3 o'clock in the morning is not unusual for me to be. Usually it's 10 to 3 for some reason, don't know why. But I'll just wake up and I'm wide awake, and I'll get up and I'll go and do something. Do some work and write another little course, or catch my emails, anything. But I'm wide awake, so there's no point, me trying to fight it, because I'll just lie there and get tossing and turning. So I think if you don't sleep and you're somebody that wakes up quite a lot, to get up and do something, because lying there thinking I'm going back to sleep and you're just getting yourself more anxious, aren't you, more wound up. I just sleep when I can, really. And sometimes I will think, right, I'm going to sleep this afternoon, and I only have an hour, but I don't. It's strange. It's like I'll sleep every now and again. This is a bit bizarre. Every now and again I will sleep for a good 12 hours, and it probably once every 2 or 3 months, and then I go back to this scatty sleep again. But that's the damage from 17 years on nights, 3 children on your own and different things. Then I did a course at university. I had to upgrade my nursing, so I went back to university, trying to fit that in on top. I just don't even know when I slept, to be honest. And when I look back on it, and I think, how did I ever sleep? But then again, sometimes I go to sleep and I love it, and I'll say, like to Mick, I'll say, I'm just having 10 minutes, and that's in the morning, and I just want to stay there for a little bit longer, because I don't want them thoughts starting straight in my head. Because, and another one, setting an alarm. I won't set an alarm, because if I do, and I go snooze off, and then I have to wake up again. So I'm thinking I'm waking up twice. So I don't want to break my sleep when I actually get some. So yeah, so I'm a bit of a wacky one with sleep, to be honest. I didn't realise until we started talking, Deb, just how you know, off the wall it is, that my sleep pattern. Yeah, it's not like a regular thing, you know. I do support other people with sleep. I do talk to them about different things like setting up a good routine. Usually we call it an evening routine, but like you say, some people work nights, I work nights. Or if you're caring for somebody, like you looked after your mother, if you're up with your mother in the night, then you know you need to go back to bed. And sometimes we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves to go to sleep, to go to bed and go to sleep, because that's what we're told when we're children: go to bed and go to sleep. And sometimes it's just not that easy. We do need to wind down, especially these days with technology. We need less of the blue light before we go to bed. Get off your phone and away from technology for an hour before you go. Read a book before you go to bed. A journal before you go to bed. Have a bath or whatever suits you as a person before you go to bed. So that is your brain acknowledging, oh, I'm doing this. I must be going to go to sleep soon, and start putting them prompts into your brain yourself. I mean, like I say, if you're as bad as I was and you need to sleep in the day, don't beat yourself up for it. Go and have it. You know, but I'll sit there and I'm like this at 8 o'clock and I just want to go sleep. And Mick will say, just go and have an hour. I won't sleep tonight then. And I know I won't, especially if I've got something the next day. So yeah, it's a bit strange. But sleep deprivation in the war was a kind of punishment. So when you're saying you didn't sleep, you know, and you're always on high alert type thing, again, you've got your adrenaline burning up, building up, your cortisol burning up, you're on that fight and flight even when your eyes are shut. So your REM sleep and your deep sleep are totally destroyed because you're not getting enough of either. You're getting too much, sort of like light sleep, and you're not getting a chance to go into that deep sleep where your brain needs that rest and, you know, to process stuff and to heal things physically in our bodies, because that's why we do rest, isn't it? But yeah, it's quite an important thing, sleep, really. Sometimes it's overrated. Not overrated, underrated, sorry, that we don't actually give it enough attention. We just think, right, I'm absolutely shattered now, I'm going to bed. Don't wait till you're exhausted. You know, go and do your little routine for the night time, you know, whatever it might be. And there are things, if you don't sleep very often, you can get, I've got a sleep spray, like a lavender sleep spray. Sometimes lavender can have contraindications to some medications, so check it out with your doctors or the herbalist or something before you do anything like that. But that does settle me, because when I smell that, I think, oh yeah, time to go sleep. You know, and it's all subconscious prompts, isn't it, to make us sleep. But like you say, if it can be used as a punishment in a war, concentration camp in a war, then you know, not having enough sleep it does make us like hallucinate sometimes. We can get moody because of it. We overreact because of it. We don't eat properly because of it. We don't exercise. You know, nothing's right. We don't feel centered in ourselves anymore because we're just exhausted. And you know, sometimes you need it to rest your body, and sometimes you need to rest your brain. But you know, well, some people can actually sleep in the day or with the light on or the television on. I like quiet when I go to sleep, but I have my window open and my curtains open. So when I wake up in the morning, I wake up to bird noise, because we've got a little park at the back and you can hear the birds. But to go to sleep with the windows open in the front would be buses and cars and bikes, and I'm like, oh no, you know, it's just that. But knowing that, looking at your sleep pattern and think, how do I sleep? You can get watches as well, which I can't. I've got one that tell you your blood pressure, your heart, and everything, and it tells you your sleep, how you sleep and your sleep pattern, and if you're in the right criteria for it. Oh my God, I can't sleep with the watch on. So that's no good to me. It irritates me. I'm like, ugh. So then I really don't get any sleep. So yeah, so that's my little jargon on me and what I'm like. I'm just wacky with sleep, honestly, or lack of.
But what I love, and thank you for that, Norma, because what I love is that you're not beating yourself up about it. You know, and I think, yeah, and in my thought process, when a few years ago, I got really down on myself and really like hard, like, and a bit more anxiety in the sense that I'm not sleeping. Why am I sleeping? And now it's just like, hey, I'm not sleeping. That's cool. That's fine. Don't label it, whatever. It's just, it is what it is. But one thing that, and again, what I do know is that if I got something on my mind that I couldn't shift, something that's kind of concerning me or worrying me, a bit of anxiety, if I don't sleep that night, that's fine. It's not a problem. I don't get up about it. I won't get up necessarily, but even if I'm awake, I won't be beating myself up for. And what I don't do is I don't clock watch. I don't look at the time, because it is what it is. And whenever, or I do set an alarm, but unlike you, I keep my curtains open, and I like to be woken up kind of more naturally in the summer months, obviously in the UK, because it gets dark in the winter. And that's another thing. I hate waking up in the dark. I really don't like it. So I think what this year is, I'm going to invest in one of those daylight bulbs, or something that I can turn on that's really bright in the morning. But as for sleep, what I like to do as well is I like to have a nice, not overly hot, but a nice warm bath. I like baths better than I do for showers in this regard. It's making me feel all snuggly and warm. But the nice thing is, with that, if it's a hotter bath, weirdly enough, is something the body kind of kicks in to cool you down. And apparently to have a good night's sleep, you need to be a few degrees cooler than what you are in the day in your temperature. And that gives me a good night's sleep. But what I can't go to sleep if I've got cold feet. I just can't go to sleep if I've got cold feet. My feet have to be warm before I go to. I just can't go to sleep with cold feet. It's just weird, isn't it? And what I've got pictures of me when I was younger, but because I wasn't getting hardly any sleep, proper deep sleep, when I was looking after my mum and then getting up early and doing that, my skin tone and the quality of my skin was not good. The texture of it wasn't good. And now people say, oh, it looks like you're glowing. And I think it's because I'm getting much better sleep. And I looked, I wouldn't say haggard, but I looked like I didn't have a life force in me. I looked a bit otherworldly. I didn't look as if I was an engaged human being, if that makes sense. It looks a bit odd looking back on old pictures when I think, oh yeah, that's when I wasn't getting any sleep hardly. Interesting.
Drained, isn't it?
Yeah. And then feeling sometimes in the afternoon at work totally exhausted, like oh my gosh, if I sit down or if I look at the computer, I'm going to go off. And at one stage I used to visit clients every now and again, and I remember falling asleep in front of one of them. I could not stop and close my eyes. I just couldn't. I could not fight it because the sleep. And I had to say, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to tell them about my personal circumstances, but I said, you know, I've had a very difficult night last night. And they went, oh, you know, young kids, is it, or something? And I went, well, I didn't lie, but I didn't tell them the whole truth. But yeah, I fell asleep in front of my client. I was just like, oh, I don't believe that. But the awful thing was, I woke up and almost did it again. I was that tired.
That's exhaustion, though, isn't it? That is absolute exhaustion, isn't it? Your body just will tell you, and that's where you're at risk of like heart disease and stroke and, you know, high blood pressure, weight gain, all them physical things through that exhaustion, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, I know what when I work nights at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, you'd literally be like that, nodding off, trying to write care plans or something. You'd be falling asleep trying to concentrate. So, but then somebody was telling me it's about like your natural biorhythms. And so when you get to 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I'd say to any night work, you know, get yourself a sugary drink or something, or some little bit of chocolate or something. And if you can, dark chocolate, because that's better for you. And just to keep that edge away from you, because you know, we do some weird things to ourselves as humans, don't we? I mean, we're not nocturnal animals, really, but yet we force ourselves for money to stay up all night. And people need care in the night, don't they?
Yeah.
For a job. I mean, sometimes it's not the job. Sometimes it is like home life and like I might meet the boys and stuff. But yeah, it's madness not when we look at sleep. I like the way someone said to me, we actually plan to go to sleep. And I said, how do you plan? They said, you lie down and close your eyes. And that's you telling your body, this is being intentional. I'm going to go to sleep. And when I thought about it, I thought, if you can plan to go to sleep, I can plan to do anything.
Oh,
and I thought it was there's some stuff around sleep, isn't there, now we've got talking about it. You know, I didn't realize it was so much. But yeah. Yeah, and then you dream, don't you? You know what I mean? So sometimes I wake up and I think, was that real, or did I imagine it? I had a dream the last weekend about one of my sisters, and I phoned her up and I said, "Have you actually been like
Did it happen?
moving stuff out and doing this and that?" And she was like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, it wasn't a dream then." And then I said, "Well, why have you been doing it?" Because I woke up thinking there must be something wrong with her if she's doing that. Is it real? Oh, that I don't like that bit, but that comes from too much deep sleep after a couple of nights of not sleeping. Do you know what I mean? Just the patterns of that, you know, it's crazy. But yeah, and the good things, yeah, I try and look positive on it. So when I do get up at 10 to 3 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, well, that's quite good because I've got that time and peace to do stuff I want to do. Or like I know people like in America and opposite time zones. So I think, oh, I wonder who's about. So I can use it depending how awake I am for, you know, for me, for a beneficial type thing. And when my children tell you some tales, or Deborah, honestly, one night they went to bed, they got up the next day and said, "Mum, last night was the dining room blue." I said, "Yeah, it was a pale blue." "All right." And it was cream. I'd painted it in the night. And I just got up and thought, well, I might as well paint this up. And they'd be like, so
are you painting the dining room?
Yeah, I should have had a job as Mrs. Santa or something like that. You know? But yeah, I'd literally do things in the night. You know, you get up and the whole house is cleaned and just waiting to hoover at 7 o'clock when they're not, you know, when you're allowed to, because you can't hoover in the middle of the night, can you? But, you know, I'll just do things. So I'm being a nurse, you know, you can change the bed with somebody in it, you know. And when my kids were little, they'd wake up and clean bedding and just like roll them over, push the sheet, put the clean one in, roll them this way, take it off.
That's brilliant.
They wake up like that, do different bedding.
Oh, brilliant.
I tell you, it's not good, is it? Oh my word.
Oh God, the things that we do. But talking about good sleep, I used to be a sleepwalker.
Oh wow.
Yes, I've injured myself really badly actually doing that.
Oh.
I had a big bed with foot, you know, foot rail at the bottom. Lovely old barley twist foot rail, you know, lovely old bed. It had posts on it and stuff. Anyway, I knew I'd woken up and I knew that I needed in my head, I needed to walk somewhere. And obviously I'm walking on the top of my bed.
Oh, no way.
And boom, straight off the edge, tripped up over this foot rail, bang, on the floor. So I must have fallen about 3 feet, I think. Ow, that hurt. That really hurt. And then I found myself in the back garden, asleep.
So did you, when you woke up, when you hit the floor though, you woke up with a bang type thing?
Yeah, and it's really just, you really like disorientated. You don't know where you are even, because you don't know what's happened. It's really weird. I've woken up in the back garden. Wow. Lying on the grass, being cold, thinking I can't remember what that was about, but I know I needed to go out and do something, and then obviously went and lay down on the grass. And then I ended up waking up in the wardrobe.
Oh,
sitting on a pair of shoes. And I'm like, what on earth? And I don't quite know what goes on in your mind when you're doing that. But the fact is of the activity, I've taken duvets downstairs. I've done all sorts. I don't do it anymore. So there was obviously something in that phase of my life. I was in like my mid-20s.
Yeah, I suppose it's looking at what was happening for you and if there's change around you, or if you were starting to come out with some of your things from when you were younger or something. It'd be interesting to look at what was happening, wouldn't it? Yeah, and see what the driver is for it.
It's interesting. But again, good night's sleep. There's a thing with this REM sleep and deep sleep. I don't know if REM sleep is the same as the deep sleep, but it's when not only your body repairs and the muscles repair and the cells are regenerated. It's when, if you're a young person, you're growing.
That's it.
When you grow at night as well, which is amazing. And your brain as well regenerates and everything. So it's really important to get that sleep, because the physiology of all of us is in that growth and cleansing and healing state, which we need to have. That's why, you know, when I was sleep deprived like you were for all those years, I just wonder, I've not had any physical signs myself, but I wonder what damage, because there would have been damage, what that had meant on my body and in my mind,
Yeah.
in my brain. I don't know.
Very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting to, I mean, I don't never, you know, I've never been a sleepwalker, but it's just interesting to think the depth that your mind is making you move while your eyes are shut, when your eyes are something that are there to, you know, see what's coming type of thing, but your body can do it without seeing, if you know what I mean. That's really interesting. I might look into this now. I'd love to read up on it here, Deborah. Yeah, because that is, yeah. And like you say, to be woken up and bang on the floor and you wet and disorientated, that takes some coming back from as well, doesn't it? Because that's a trauma in itself,
I mean,
isn't it?
I've fallen a lot, and it was just like, whoa, my God, that was horrible. And I had to work out where I was. But the other thing is with apparent, I was listening to this the other day, that I don't think it's REM sleep, or it might be, but there's one type of sleep that you become paralyzed. We do it every night where we'd be paralyzed because it's this stage of sleep.
Yeah.
And I've not had this, but some people, because the gentleman, I was like this on the podcast, was saying that he'd woken up and he couldn't move.
Yeah, sleep paralysis. Yeah, you get, yeah, you feel like you're trapped and you can't. I have had that. I have had that on occasions, but once I started to realise that's what it was, and it's just that thing again when I can't move, close your eyes, go back to sleep. But sometimes you think that something's daunting on you, and because I have a lot to do spiritual things, that to me, I'd be thinking, is this some kind of demon or something? Is this something out to get me? And it's quite terrifying because you physically cannot, no matter how much you want to, move any part of you. So I have had that, and yeah, that is quite disturbing, really. But luckily, I don't have it a lot.
But that's the bit that you become. Sorry, that's the bit you become aware of. Apparently, it happens most nights, but you're just not aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, okay. Because I think they're delving into more about sleep, aren't they? And the benefits of good sleep and what happens when we dream and the sleep patterns and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
It would be a good subject for them, wouldn't I, with my sleep pattern or lack of.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'd be well on it. Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, I think as well, I noticed the difference if I've had a good night's sleep. So last night, I think in the last podcast, I was talking about the fact of I had this experience coming out of quite a difficult kind of like, what do I do? How do I do it? Kind of thing back in my childhood that it was triggered. And I did what I needed to do. And because I needed to do that, I'd released the energy. I'd released the pent up energy. So last night I went to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening, and I didn't wake up until 7 this morning.
Wow. That's lovely.
Because I felt so tired, because that, I think all of that energy and that anxiety and that emotion had got unlocked. And then the body goes, you need to heal from this. So it was just like, whoa, I feel tired. And unfortunately, I live a lifestyle where if I did need to go to bed at 9, I can. You know, that's fine. So I just thought, right, I am so tired. I knew that my head would touch the pillow and I'd be off, and I was. So that's interesting, isn't it? But it came as a result of me doing something that was a self-development thing, and you know, that I'd been kind of needed to do. So yeah, that was interesting in itself. And then, as you say, some people can go to sleep in quite loud environments. But I'm like you, the slightest noise, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? But what I don't thrive is if I'm going to go to sleep and the room is completely pitch black. I find that quite claustrophobic.
Yeah, I like some lights from somewhere, street light. I like the moon, because where my room I can see the moon at night. So I like that, light moonlight. I like something that, you know, that's just something gentle. So I like the idea of you getting one of them lights, so that, because like in the winter we can get SAD syndrome, can't we, where seasonal affective disorder, where we don't function the same because we're not getting the light anyway. So that's a good idea for people to get something like that. Then they can, you know, like in the morning, put it on when it is so dark, and then you're not feeling stuck in the dark all the time, because sometimes it's dark till 8 o'clock, and then it goes dark again at 5. So, and
Oh,
like when I used to work nights, it was 12-hour nights. So I'd be going to work in the dark, coming home in the dark. And the other thing I found was when I worked, like I had to drive quite a while, in like 2-3 hours sometimes to get to different care homes, when I was on working a patch with somebody, and driving in the night all the time, but with all the lights in your eyes, you know, I'd be like driving like this because I was
oh,
so
that's
tired.
not good. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I could
Mm.
be leaving 5 in the morning, and when as I got to the care home, it just becoming daylight, and I'd be like, nice, I'm going inside now for the day. You know, and then I'd come home and drive home in the dark at 6 o'clock at night and get home at 9 and be like, not seeing any daylight. But then I suppose on the other side is when you get a day off, then get outside in the light, normal light. But I do like the idea of one of them lights. I think that'd really lift things. You know,
Well,
it's a good idea.
apparently, as well as a daylight light, you know, the rings that you can get when you do little camera, you know, like if you were,
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
ring
can't
light
remember
things.
what they're called, but they're like these round
Yeah,
lights and they're
yeah,
very bright round the edges, aren't they?
yeah,
Apparently that if you look at that, obviously making sure that it's, you know, safe to do so,
yeah,
but that bright light in the morning, I know we're thinking about sleep, but that bright light really helps to raise your
mm,
levels of whatever it should be and help with your circadian rhythm as well. I
yeah,
learned that yesterday when I listened to
yeah.
a podcast, that those circular lights as well. I think
That's a
I
good
live my
idea.
life listening to podcasts, actually.
Yeah. No, no, I think if you have good sleep, doesn't really affect you, you're not really bothered by it, then fine. But I think if somebody's, looking like now, it's actually highlighted to me, Deborah, that I'm actually going to get myself another book and another little journal, and I'm going to put in my sleep patterns and what I do sleep, and when, what's going on around me at the time, because it's quite interesting, really, because I've never done it. The weirdest thing, I do everything else, I don't do that. And have a look. So I'll have to let you know on that one what happens. Um, yeah, and see how you feel next day. The one thing I don't like when I'm going to sleep sometimes, you ever just like nodding off and you jump like that, like
Oh,
jerk.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that's apparently it's because you got your synapses in your nervous system. Yet like the electron, the energy in the day, that because you've been so busy, it's firing across your synapses, and then some doesn't get across because it's not powerful enough. And at night, that builds up at the end of the synapses, and they jump, and that's why you jerk at night, jump like this. And
Oh,
somebody was telling me about that years ago, and I thought, because I used to do it quite a bit, and now that's why I started doing, like, I will read before I go to bed. I don't watch television much before I go to bed. Caffeine and alcohol, I don't know,
no.
before I go to sleep. So I do them things, which is basically just like giving it lip service as looking after myself on night at sleep. So yeah, I'm going to be paying much more attention and looking at the more of the reasons, really, because I think if somebody's really got a sleep problem where they're not sleeping sound, they are insomnia and stuff like that, and you do need medical attention, I think they do need to actually go and get that. There's a lot of sleep experts about now, and there's quite a
Yeah.
few on LinkedIn as well. Jill McGarry is a lady I know who's a sleep expert, and she's excellent around sleep. I might go and see her myself. She lives locally to me, so yeah, I'm gonna definitely do that, because and then I'll know
Oh,
more. And then we'll have to come back and
brilliant.
have another. We'll have to have another
Yeah,
podcast
before and
on
after Jill.
yeah,
Yeah,
before and after
absolutely.
a routine. Yeah, because I can tell
Yeah.
you about the benefits of everything else and what makes it right and wrong. And you never know, I might end up livelier and happier and brighter and better skin and
Yeah.
everything. I don't know. We
Well,
shall
it's
see the
lovely, isn't it, when you've
difference.
had a good night's sleep? It's
Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, what I
yeah.
do for sleep hygiene is, sorry, there was just a flash on my
Ah,
computer,
no. No.
suddenly got me. Um, so what I do on for sleep hygiene is I do like my warm bath before I go to bed, but what I won't do is I don't drink alcohol and don't smoke anyway. But one
Mm,
of the things is not eating too soon before going to bed.
mm,
Um, and what do they say? Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and have your evening meal like a pauper.
yeah.
Because I think it also helps to get you into that sleep without having to digest heavy food before you
Mm,
go to bed if you can avoid it.
yeah.
So I try that. Nothing caffeinated just before. I don't really have a problem with caffeine and coffee. I've never had that sensitivity, but I tend not to have caffeine after 7 in the evening. Just a personal preference now, rather than I think it making a huge amount of difference. But again, trying to stay away from the phone as much as possible, that blue light, and then listening to my body and knowing, you know what, yeah, I'm tired now. Because the worst thing that I can do is, if I'm not tired and I'm wide awake, going to bed won't produce anything other than I can't go to sleep, you know. So it's just like I do it. So last night, and as I said, I'm lucky enough to be able to go to bed when I need to in the evening. I'm not got the kids, or I'm not caring for an elderly relative or anything. And the dog's pretty good now. She's pretty, you know, she's house trained and stuff. So from that point of view, getting in like, you know what, I'm going to go to bed now. And because it's summertime here in the UK, it was still light outside. And it's like, as soon as my head touches the pillow, I am that tired, I know I'm going to go to sleep. But yeah, it's sort of like not being anxious about going to sleep either, just being natural about it and not actually thinking about it. Because as soon as I do, I can't then go to sleep. So and trying to think about parking all the thoughts and the maybe stresses and anxieties that I've had throughout the day, to just try and just leave those. I do actually think about what I've been thankful for during the course of the day. And I do actually have a sort of a little opening of my heart with love before I go to sleep, so that if I'm thinking, well, if I'm sending that message out while I'm going to sleep, that's kind of going to resonate out from that. So a bit of gratitude and love. It's not, you know, I don't do that every night, but I try, and when I remember, I try and do it. So yeah. But thinking about these shift things, I know a lot of people work shifts, and I haven't really got direct experience. When you're in the broad daylight and the birds are singing and everybody's outside or what have you, in your experience, what did you do to try and make sure that your body knew, yeah, it's time for sleep now?
Well, for me, Deborah, it's like when because I do Reiki sessions for people and things like that. I always warned them before, so I'd warn myself before I went to bed, and think, right, you know, you might hear the bin men. Somebody might knock on the door. The bell might go. It might be the postman, but it's okay to ignore it. So when I do a Reiki session, I'll say to people, you know, somebody might walk past. You might hear somebody foot in the grass. Just let them thoughts go out your mind. Just catch the thought and just let it go. And that's what I used to do when I used to sleep in the day. I think, right, it could be the neighbours, could be this and that. So if you know, you're like pre-warning your system that these things might make a noise, but it's normal for this time of day while I'm safe to sleep. It's like preloading your brain, really, that, you know, so if it do hear something, it's like, oh, it's the neighbour. So your mind just stays asleep, not what's this, you know, what's that? And you can do it at night time. You live in a very busy area, and some people live in cities that are crazy, don't they, with traffic and God knows what going on 24 hours a day. And, you know, like yourself living in London, I don't think London ever sleeps, does it? It's awake all the time, which is difficult, isn't it? But for me, it is like and that's what I use, like, for safe my Reiki sessions. So that's what I do when I was on shift work and stuff. I'd think, right, okay, you might hear this and I might hear that. You know, it's funny enough, my partner, he works nights every third week, and the first 4 nights he works, he hardly sleeps. He's up, he goes to bed at like 8 o'clock, he's up at 11, up at 12, and he'll like go back to sleep. Then he'll go back to sleep at 6 and get up at 9 for work, and his pattern's awful for 4 days. And then on the Friday morning, he comes home, goes to bed, and he'll get up at 5 o'clock at night. And I'm like, you just slept all day. So, but he naturally does it. And I think, and I said to him, set an alarm for 4 o'clock, so that, you know, when you go to bed at 8, that if because I think in back of his mind somewhere, he's thinking, what if Norma's not here to wake me up? What if I don't get up? What if I oversleep and it's night? Yeah, and some brain thing. And that's what he did. He set an alarm for 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock at night. So, and then he did sleep a bit longer. Still doesn't get to 4 o'clock, gets to about 2:30, but at least it helped. So it's finding something like that, isn't it? And preloading your brain. But I think he was thinking, what if she's not here, and because I do different times and travel and stuff. If I'm not here, then will I wake up? And that anxiety of, will I wake up in time? I mean, we do set alarms for mornings sometimes, don't we? But I mean, I try not to set one as much as possible. But I think that type of thing is, if it's on your mind, but just to pre-warn in your own brain that these things might actually crop up. You know, obviously you need to wake up if your kids wake up or your doggy wants to go out or something, but you know, other than that, everything else can wait if it's just normal life. And like I say, preload your brain into these things, you know. And make your bed
Very
like a lovely
interesting.
nest that you look forward to going in, your environment that you go to bed in. Go into a room. I mean, how you live is how you live, isn't it? If somebody likes a lot of stuff about, personally, I don't like clutter and stuff, but if somebody lives like that, great. But make it something that you're happy with, your environment around you. So you know, even your external energies feel like, oh, this is me, this is mine, I'm safe here, like a nest. My little bed like a nest. Somewhere you want to get into and somewhere you want to get out of, you know. So
yeah, thank you. That's really important, isn't it? I like getting in. I always make my bed in the morning, because when I go back at night, I like to think that there's a nice, lovely, cozy bed, you know, and that it's all nice and made up. And then I got the thing of taking, you know, the folding the duvet down, and it's, you know, it's just nice to have that
I say, you
nice
can look and just
feeling.
think, I've done that for me. You know, I consider myself important enough. A bit of self-care, really, making your bed, isn't it? So you get back to it at night, and I've made that for me so that I'll feel better. You know, it's
Yeah,
the first thing you do in the morning, you're doing something for yourself, and then the last thing at night, you're enjoying what you did in the morning. So I suppose it connects up then with your first thing, your last thing, sort of like connects in a loop, and that's that day done. I don't know, just my little weird thoughts.
I know. I think they're great. I think they're really good to share it, because, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would be like, oh, I've got this, I've got that yeah, I do, and there's a little ritual or a routine that I do, etc. Or again, you know, if sleep isn't easy for you, then I always, when it wasn't for me, I never used to beat myself up, but I never watched the clock. I never watched the clock, because I didn't want to think, oh no, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll be up in a couple of hours. Oh no, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I've got half an hour left or something. So I think, well, whatever. It is whatever time it is, and that's fine. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you can, you know, if you can get sleep whenever you need when you're feeling tired, that's great, isn't it? And you know, embrace it when you can. Sometimes there'll be times when you can't sleep, or especially if you're poorly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're poorly, you can't, can you? But yeah, when you can, do it. Do it.
Lovely.
Yeah, and then we get the
Oh,
ones that catnap, don't we? The 15 minutes or something. And
power
who was it?
nap.
Einstein
Power
talked
nap
about
or
power
what
nap.
have
Yeah,
you.
power napping. What's that about? I can't do that.
Oh no, I can't do that either. I'd be groggy for the rest of the day if I did that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
oh, interesting. Well, I'm
great.
just looking
It
at
is
our
very.
time, and that's great. Is there anything else just before we close? We've just got a minute left. Is there
And just as
anything else?
always, Deborah, for me, I'd just say to anybody, just do it your way. If you're having a particular problem, so seek the help you need. And probably try some alternative therapies, massage, Reiki, whatever. Try something different if you're not sleeping. And if it is something you're worrying about and something in particular, then, you know, seek help if you do need it, if you're struggling with something. If you're in a situation that is stopping you from sleeping, like we've both been in, then
Oh
seek the
yeah.
help you need.
I
Yeah.
wish I'd said something, because I would have got more support, but I think they're
Yeah.
wise words. Well, thanks ever so much, everybody. See you soon, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Take care.
be
Thank you,
lovely
Deborah.
to have another chat. Lovely. Take care now.
See you soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.